Russia has invaded Ukraine and the world is watching.
But why has Russia done this?
Can the war be stopped?
Who will help the many thousands of people fleeing the fighting?
And what can we do to help?
In a special edition of Your Weekly News Show, we've been investigating the Ukraine invasion. Over the years, we've reported on many wars on FYI. It's a sad fact that conflict has been part of the human world for as long as we've been around. But seeing a European country like Ukraine being invaded is a first for many of us, isn't it?
Yeah, and we get just as upset as you when we see violence and suffering, no matter where it is in the world. So we're on a mission to explain everything and look at what is being done to find a peaceful solution.
Yeah, so I guess one of the biggest questions about any war really is why, and it can be complicated.
It can be super complicated. So we've been investigating why Russia would do this. To truly understand why Ukraine has been invaded by Russia, we need to hit the history books and go back in time. From 1917, when the royal Russian family were overthrown, until 1991, we saw the rise and the fall of the Soviet Union, or the USSR. Ukraine was one of the 15 states that made up this giant country. All of them became independent countries when the Soviet Union's political system and economy collapsed in 1991, and its people demanded change. Russia was the country with the biggest power, surrounded by smaller states, as you can see here. Russia's current president, Vladimir Putin, came to power in 2000. He has always made it clear that the end of the Soviet Union angers him, and some world leaders believe he would like Russia to become a huge empire, similar to how the Soviet Union used to be back in the day. And he wants to claim back some of the former Soviet states. In 2008, Russia invaded neighbouring Georgia and took control of a large part of the country. It's very much like what he's doing with Ukraine now, trying to take back a former state that largely wants to be independent of Russian control. 2014 is a good year to look at the relationship between Ukraine and Russia. The then president of Ukraine, with a close relationship to Russia, faced huge protests demanding he quit. And when he did, Russia's Vladimir Putin thought that Ukraine was about to become more friendly with Western countries like the UK and the USA. So he sent in Russian soldiers to take control of Crimea, which is an area in the south of Ukraine. Let's travel in time right up to the present day. The Ukraine invasion is now a very complicated situation. Rebels are people who go against the government in power. In February, Russia sent in its troops to support a rebel army from two other regions who also wanted to be independent from Ukraine, Luhansk and Donetsk. So rebels with Russians began fighting against the Ukrainian army. But the most important thing to know is that this was just the start of a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. President Putin appeared on Russian TV to warn other countries not to try and stop them. There is huge support for Ukraine here in the West.
For all his bombs and tanks and missiles, I don't believe that the Russian dictator will ever subdue the national feeling of the Ukrainians and their passionate belief that their country should be free.
Just like other former Soviet Union states, the Ukraine as an independent country wants to join the military alliance NATO and the European Union. But the Russian president is demanding Ukraine doesn't join them. There are still large Russian communities in many former Soviet states, including Ukraine. While some would like to be part of Russia, world leaders say President Putin has no right to wade in. And many say this invasion is illegal and Russia will be punished.
One thing you can be sure about is that the world has been watching events in Ukraine very closely, and those in power are doing all they can to bring about a peaceful solution. And I've been looking into how the world is reacting. For weeks, many world leaders and senior politicians tried to convince Russia's President Putin that an invasion of Ukraine was not what Ukrainians wanted, or even his own people, and that it would be viewed as illegal and Russia would be punished. But he sent his forces across the Ukrainian border and began an unprovoked attack on the country. bombing military targets in key cities, including the capital, Kiev. So what happens next? The many families taking shelter in underground stations and bunkers from the gunfire and explosions know the world is watching and reacting. Military action by other countries has been ruled out. That could lead to a much bigger war. Instead, European countries, including the UK, are providing the Ukrainian military with supplies and weapons. No one really knows why, but the Russian advance in the early days of the invasion has been slow. The Ukrainian army is fighting back hard, led by their president, Volodymyr Zelensky. He urged Russians not to listen to their president.
We need to stop this war. We can live in peace, together, globally, as humans.
World leaders, including the UK Prime Minister, have described the invasion as a pointless war, and they're punishing the Russian president with financial penalties called sanctions, which means they can't do business outside Russia and won't be able to access money or property abroad. Russian airlines are banned from flying across or landing in Europe. This is all to try and cut Russia off from the outside world to stop its actions. The world of sport has also stepped in. The football governing bodies, UEFA and FIFA, have suspended Russia from competitions, and many other sporting events due to be held in Russia have also been cancelled. Russia has also been banned from this year's Eurovision Song Contest.
Many Ukrainians are staying put in the country instead of fleeing the invasion.
We got a video diary from Miroslava, who lives in Khmelnytsky. She is among loads of teenagers who have stayed behind to provide food and aid to refugees as they make their way through the country to the border.
Right here, people are making nets, which serve as masking equipment for our military. So right here, the food is being collected, and over there, our volunteers are working and collecting some other stuff and medicaments for our soldiers. And there are still so many volunteers in one place.
Miroslava joins us now. Hi Miroslava, thank you for joining us.
Hi guys, thank you for making this program and for speaking to me.
Why have you not fled Ukraine? Why are you staying behind to help those who are?
Where I am now, we have several air raid sirens per day, and people have to spend some part of the day hiding in the underground shelters. The situation is relatively safer than in Kiev or in Kharkiv, but still, we are helping people who are coming to Khmelnytsky as refugees. We are also sending the humanitarian aid to the front line. And it's truly horrible to see mothers with their toddlers coming to Khmelnytsky only with one bag, with their documents, with no extra warm clothes. And we are trying to provide them with the food, and we are hosting them in our own homes, in schools, sports centers, cinemas, and even in churches. But it's scary to think that tomorrow you may become one of these refugees too.
Well, thank you so much for speaking to us, and I really hope you stay safe.
I want to thank you and thank all of our foreign friends for supporting us, and I want to ask you to continue supporting us.
We've been told by refugee charities that an estimated 4 to 7 million people are expected to flee the fighting.
Already, hundreds of thousands of refugees are crossing the border into neighbouring countries. That's Moldova, Romania, Hungary, Slovakia and Poland.
Refugee charities are warning that there could be a humanitarian crisis if those countries don't get the support they need to take care of Ukraine's refugees. The good news is that the European Union has announced that all Ukrainian refugees will be allowed to stay in safe countries like Poland for up to 3 years. The first thing you notice is that it is mainly women and children crossing over the border into neighbouring countries. That is because the Ukrainian government has asked men to stay behind and fight. Katerina, who is 18, and her brother 12-year-old Vadim have just arrived in Poland. They told FYI their parents, like many others, have stayed behind to help fight the invasion.
They stay there to defend our country. They wanted for us to come there, and now we are here. It's really bad. So I must say that we have really war in our country. Children can't do nothing. So I really beg adults to protest in such way, in anything, to stop this war, to stop this really bad thing in our country.
We were so worried about Katerina and Vadim that we've kept in touch with them, and they told FYI that they've now reached friends of the family in Slovakia. Other refugees are being offered shelter by local families in their homes and temporary accommodation in halls and schools. They get there by car, train, or on foot. There are so many refugees. Some are waiting 30 hours to cross. Bana Alabed knows what it takes to travel hundreds of miles to reach safety. She's a refugee from Syria, where a civil war broke out between government and anti-government troops, forcing millions of people to flee. She became well known for her tweets as her city was bombed by her own government and its supporter Russia. Bana's family escaped to neighbouring Turkey. Bana has been posting again about her concern for Ukrainian refugees, and she's joining us now. Hi, Bana.
Hi.
So it must be so tough for you to see yet another refugee crisis. Do you think that they will get the help they need?
I think they will get the help they need if the world all focuses on one goal, and that is to bring peace and to stop these wars, because every child deserves to live in peace. And leaving your whole country because of war is really tough, because you need to find a new home, you need to find a new school, you need to find a new friends, and that is really tough. And I really hope that everybody will fix this thing and war will stop, and the people will go back to their homelands and live in peace.
Thank you so much, Bana.
Countries around the world are sending money, food and water to help refugees, including the UK.
Many of us are wanting to do what we can to help, donating whatever we can to collection centres across the country. Thomas has more on this from London.
I'm here at the Polish Centre in Lewisham in London. This is one of the drop-off points that's been set up across the country to help Ukrainian refugees. As you can see, it is extremely busy, with boxes being put into trucks.
So why did you volunteer today?
Because Ukraine needs help. People may be starving. They've been walking country to country every day.
It's really hectic here. There are so many people and so many donations. Some of this being kids' clothes, food, nappies, sanitary products, and that's just a few of them.
We have been packing all the stuff that people have been donating and putting it in trucks that are going to Poland.
We have another truck coming! Keep packing, keep packing! We've been here for a few hours, everyone's been working flat out, and there's already another truck here for loading. Well, more trucks like these, packed full of aid, will keep heading to border countries of Ukraine, as long as we keep donating whatever we can. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Thomas. Now, I suppose it's the least we can do as we watch these events unfold in Ukraine. And watching the news can be scary sometimes, can't it? So we invited members of FYI school news clubs to send their questions and worries into FYI's counsellor, Anna.
Is it okay to feel scared about what's happening in Ukraine, even though I'm not there?
So if you are feeling any worrying feelings or feeling scared, you really aren't on your own, okay? It's because we feel empathy and sympathy for those people that are caught up in all of this conflict. So yeah, if you are feeling sad or upset, it is very, very normal. But don't sit with those feelings, okay? Make sure you talk to someone, particularly an adult that you trust. Share that emotion, don't just be sat with it.
I feel really anxious. I'm worried about the war and what it might mean for us. Could this lead to another world war?
It's natural to be worried about what will happen next. And be careful as well on what news sites you're accessing. Don't keep scrolling through unreliable sources that are perhaps scaremongering or dishing out incorrect information. Only go to reputable news sites in order to get the correct news and what is actually happening. When you do, you'll realise that world leaders are doing everything they need to do to avoid this war getting worse and affecting more countries. You can turn that concern as well into doing something for charity, do something proactive like sending donations to a collection centre for refugees, just like Thomas has just seen.
People People from all countries all around the world have come together to protest against Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
Including Russia itself, which is brave because protests aren't allowed there.
We leave you with pictures of a world united in shock, but also in hope for peace.